Welcome to the Global Wellness HQ family of podcasts. We are your international headquarters for resources and ideas and insight in relation to the 9 elements of holistic wellness. Join us as we interview local and international wellness experts and learn how you can implement and improve one element or dimension of wellness at a time. Our experts will share their practical tips on wellness in one of these core areas: emotional, intellectual, occupational, physical, environmental, financial, spiritual, social, or habitual. We created our family of podcasts as a resource for anyone who is looking to integrate the 9 elements of holistic wellness into their daily lives. Welcome to the show. The Global Wellness HQ family of podcasts is proudly sponsored by the Global Wellness HQ community. It's an online membership group where we meet, we share ideas, we share insights, and we all work together and help one another discover our own personal wellness journeys. If you'd like to join us, you can easily click the link below or scan the QR code, and we love hearing your stories. So we hope to see you in the community. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. For those of you who are just tuning in, I am excited to introduce you to Michael Whitehouse. Michael is literally the guy who knows a guy. His website is guywhoknowsaguy.com. Michael has written a book, The Guy Who Knows a Guy, and absolutely brilliant. I love the simplicity of the book. And Michael, I just want to welcome you to the show, and we're going to have a conversation that hopefully other connectors will go, "Oh my God, that's the best time I've spent." So welcome to the show again.
Fantastic. That's a good goal. I like that goal.
Awesome. Now, I'm going to share a little tangent because I didn't realize until I was about 50 that networking was critical to everything I've done in my life. And I actually had a conversation this morning, and I went, every time I've been successful, I was networking with ease. Every time I struggled, I was ignoring networking. And I want to share a story, and I want to hear your opinion on it. But back in university, I took a short-term 4-month job in another city 3 hours away, and I literally knew 2 people in that entire city. And I was like, okay, 4 months, I can spend 4 months at home, but I got an unfurnished apartment, and literally I slept on a air mattress. So I was like, I'm not spending 4 months with my evenings in this apartment. So what I did was I found a little local pub that had, let's just say, some capacity, and I put my name literally on one of their tables, and I said, I'm going to be here every Friday from 8 till midnight. And I invited the 2 people that I knew, and I introduced them to each other. And I said, next Friday, before you guys go off to the clubs or whatever you're doing, have your friends meet you here. And I literally, in 4 months, I met probably 300-400 other college-aged kids like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, you should go do this and you should do that. And I'm like, nope, my religious time. So it's funny now as an adult, I'm reinstituting that. And I'm like, how did a teenager figure that out? And it's taken me, 30 years to forget it and then remember it. So let's talk about some of the tips you have for networkers.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's like one of the points I make, which is that you become a connector when you decide to become a connector, and not a moment after. Because a lot of people are like, well, I can't be connected until I know 1,000 people. I know 18,000. There's someone on my calendar who on his website, it says it's 18,000 people. Which I don't think you can know 18,000 people. You can have a network of 18,000 people.
Yeah.
But I believe scientifically you can know 150. But once you know 2, you can introduce them to each other, and you can start asking, who else do you need to know? Who would you like to be connected to? Who should I be on the lookout for you? And whether or not you ever make that introduction, simply asking and making the effort signals to them that you're looking to make connections, and then asking them, hey, could you bring some people? Making it very low, very frictionless, very simple. And it's funny for me because in the last 2 years I've been in this very online mindset. So there's no bumping into people unless you use the same Zoom link, which I need to start doing for my meetings. Because like when I came on this call, you had your last interview, and here's someone I knew, and we chatted for a bit. So creating those serendipitous happenstances, but in person you can totally do that and find a place where you'll be every Friday or every Saturday, every Monday morning, and it's a matter of just making it simple. I think a lot of people, they overcomplicate what networking is, and well, you got to reciprocate. And but one thing I found, because I don't really keep score, because that sounds like organization to me.
Sounds like work.
Yes. So I just help people, and now that I'm launching the entrepreneur mentor community, and I'm thinking about who could promote this, I haven't really asked a lot of people to promote a lot of things for me, except summits that they're in, which is kind of expected. They're in the summit, so we all pull together. But other than that, I don't really ask people to promote things. I didn't have anything to promote. And all of a sudden I got this program, like, oh, I wonder who could promote this. Well, probably that person who I helped promote, and that person I got on the leaderboard, and that person I sent them in 90 opt-ins, and that person I did this and that. Oh, I've helped a bunch of people. That's pretty cool. So if you don't keep score and just help people, the downside is, of course, then you have to remember who you helped when you then call them the favors. But the crazy thing is, if you're not keeping score, and then you have something to do and you start asking around, hey, could you help me with this? Even if it's not someone you personally helped, they saw you help a bunch of other people, and they know, their turn will come. It's going to come around to them, or it'll come through someone else. It creates this generalized reciprocity, karma, balance, whatever you want to call it. Everybody wins because everyone just helps each other in that networking community.
I love it. And I think we're going to talk more about EMC. One of the best pieces of advice I got early on was to look at your network as a portfolio. I'm going to pick the stocks carefully that I put in the portfolio. I don't know which one's going to be the home run. I don't know which one's going to be the flop. But if you think about it from a portfolio point of view, you don't have, because to me, it's exhausting. I literally know people who keep score, every introduction received, every introduction given. That just feels like work, and it sucks the life out of networking for me.
I do track them. Not to keep score, but just so I can look back and be like, did I introduce you? Occasionally it's useful to be like, I'm going to make this introduction. Wait, did they introduce me? Let me go check.
Yeah.
I want to know how I met that person. And the other thing I have with my connector nexus, it's very important that I track who introduced me to people. If you want me to share what that concept is.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. And I'll just echo this, because the last conversation I had was with a wonderful man named Bobby. And I was going to happily introduce him to Michael. And then I went, wait a minute, you introduced him to me. Now, normally I track that, but because it was, I tried to do something on the fly, and I always regret when I violate my system. But it was still nice as a way to honor your relationship for you two to say hi. So, all right, let's rewind, because I think there's a couple things. So first of all, let's talk about your affiliate networking thing. You just mentioned it, and my
the entrepreneur mentor community.
Yeah. And then let's have a little fun and talk about the entrepreneurial mentorship community.
Yep.
And then
so the concept of the program, it's something I've been trying to figure out how to develop for the longest time. When I first started in this era of my professional life, when COVID started, and I was getting into the coaching space and this virtual space, online business, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know what courses I should take. I didn't know what a lot of these words meant. I was kind of wandering around the dark, bumping into things, and occasionally money fell out of my pocket. And the first course I took was for an email list building course. It was a pretty good email list building course. I still use some of the things I learned in it, but I didn't have an avatar. I didn't have an offer. I didn't have a marketing strategy. I had a brand because I was the guy who knows a guy, and that seemed to work pretty well. But other than that, I didn't, and the brand didn't match what I was trying to sell, which was like general life coaching at the time. So, that course was like step 4. I was on step 1. And it not only wasn't what I needed, but it distracted me for 2 months. So I didn't work on what I needed because I was following this course. And so many entrepreneurs. Now I was lucky. The course was legitimate. It was taught by a good coach who actually knew what she was talking about. A lot of people, they blow their money on courses that are nothing. It's a fancy box with stuffing inside, and they'll waste $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 on these courses because they don't know who to ask. They don't know who the bad actors in the market are. They see a YouTube ad, they see a Facebook ad, they see a slick webinar, and there they go. Because who do you ask? You're just out there. You join most of these Facebook communities, and you've got the guru at the top who's selling their thing through the community. And then you've got all these other people who are kind of sniffing around trying to engage through the group and do their own thing and do their own marketing. I know, because I was one of those when I first started. That's something I learned how to do. I got pretty good at it, actually. But you have no way to vet those people. You don't even know if the guru's any good, because it's this really, kind of Wild West environment. And so for years, I've been trying to figure out, like, how do I solve this so someone new coming in can get quality services and work with good, honest people, people who will say, you don't need an email list building course right now. This is not your program. You need these 3 things first. Don't come to me until you have those. Then I'd love to teach you email list building. And also just to be able to get to know these coaches before you actually hire them. Because oftentimes you meet them at 7:00 when the webinar starts, and at 7:49, you're pulling your credit card out. And you've known them for 49 minutes. So like they talk a good game. Can they deliver? I don't know. Who knows? So the concept of the entrepreneur mentor community is that it's a community on Facebook. There's also going to be a library through my The Guy Knows the Guy app, and also a weekly Ask Me Anything solution session, so people can come into a Zoom call and ask me whatever random thing. Because so often there's so many little things like, wait, which social media platform should I be on? And they get hung up on that for 6 months while your business freezes while you try to figure out this answer. But the core of it is I'm inviting these hand-picked mentors. They're people I personally know. They have a good reputation. They're in it for the right reasons. They're here to help people. Now, they're also here to make money. They are business people. They are not in the charity business. They are in the business. But they make money by providing a valuable product and getting a good name in the community. And they're all joint venture people, which you can't have a bad name be in the joint venture world because your partners stop promoting you. Nobody wants to promote someone else's crap product. So they're people who are vetted by partners and by me and by the community, so that the members, when they join, they have a trustworthy community. And it's not just me, the guru, on top of the group being like, listen to me and ignore everyone else. It's listen to these people that I've put together. Any one of them can, has advice. They've been there. They've got experience. They may disagree with each other. Yeah, but they're disagreeing from a place of service. It's an honest disagreement, not like, buy my thing. No, buy my thing. No, buy my. They're the kind of people who will say, like, what, my thing's great, but I think actually for you need his thing. My thing comes after his thing. You're not ready for my thing yet. Like, they're the kind of people who are in an abundance-minded state enough to do that. And I'm really excited about this because it serves, it serves that audience in a way that really needs it. And there's, thousands of entrepreneurs coming into the market every day. Now, is my marketing up to snuff to bring them into my community? We'll see. But for them, I can serve them as they come in. And the really cool thing is, as we get started, at this moment, if someone were to join today, they'd be outnumbered by mentors. So it's not just like me and them. It's like me and them and all these mentors I'm bringing in. So that there's a lot of value in that community. And even the mentors might serve each other. Yeah. Just because you're an expert in LinkedIn doesn't mean you're an expert in bookkeeping.
Yeah. And it's fascinating because I think, if I may, a lot of people who are new to networking, they're looking at that transactional, I need to connect Michael with somebody who becomes a client. And I think what I'm seeing in the EMC is you're bringing together the resources and trusting that the people in the room are smart enough to say, I need a little bit of this, I need a little bit of that. Maybe I don't need a full 8-week program to learn how to optimize this thing. Maybe I just need a nudge. Yep. So I love that, you're making it easy for your mentors to help your community and help others. And I personally believe that if more people did networking well, we could shut down a lot of this noise online. We could stop I really hate, you posted something about somebody using a misleading subject line saying, I'm waiting in Zoom. Yeah. And, I read that and I was fuming. I'm like, I hate it when people do that. And it's like, wouldn't it be nice if we could all just have that little bit of integrity and recognize that if I give value to the world's going to reward me.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the email thing is interesting because I'm coming to the end of promoting a launch. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with a launch, not the sense of starting a new thing, which I'm launching, but a launch in the Jeff Walker sense is, let's see if I remember all the parts of it. First, you do pre-launch content, which is like PDFs, free downloads. Then you do something like an info session or a 5-day challenge or something like that. And it leads up to the sales event, a webinar where they're going to sell the thing. And then the cart opens and they're actually selling the thing that they're leading to. And the whole concept is you bring together a whole bunch of partners. They all promote the launch at the same time. You get a lot of traffic coming through, and hopefully you make a lot of sales. That's the concept of it. And the partners hopefully make a lot of money because they get a percentage of what's being sold. I'm partnering with someone who does, she does the business by referrals. So my networking is more about like building a network generally. She's about taking your network and monetizing it specifically. And I actually mentioned to her once, I'm like, yeah, I need to work on building a course. She's like, no, you don't. I've already got one. Just promote mine. And I said, that's a great idea. But the thing about a launch is often you will lose 3 to 8%, the 3 to 10% of your audience. Your email list will just opt out. They're like, nope, I don't want, because this one's 17 emails long.
Yep.
And they're like, no, I'm out of here. I don't want it. So the crazy thing that I found is that my current numbers are roughly, I went into this with 1,250 people on my email list. And I told my community ahead of time, I'm going to be doing this. And, here's what's going to happen. And you're going to be it's a separate segment. So if you don't want to get it, you can click right here. You'll get out of that sequence. In every single email, it said, here's how you get out of that sequence. You'll still stay in my community, but you can leave the sequence.
Yeah.
And I started with 1,250 or so and coming to the end of it. And also I then promoted a second partner, completely unrelated, but I figured since they're already segmented out, I'd just piggyback that one into 3 emails. I'm coming out of it with about 1,170 of them still in that sequence. And I've only had about 20 or so opt-outs, which we're talking about. That's a little under 2% opt-out when the average is 5 to 7%. I don't even have 5% opted out of the sequence, let alone my whole list.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for the difference is, one, I treated my audience with respect and I said, here's what's coming. Here's what we're doing together. I'm sharing this with you. Here's why I'm sharing with it. Here's what you can expect. You're going to get some free stuff and then some more free stuff and then some more free stuff. And then you're going to get an offer at the end. That's how this is going to work. I chose it because it aligns with what I do. I think you'll find it valuable. But more than that, my content isn't buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy his stuff, buy his stuff, buy her stuff, buy her stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. My content is sharing stories. My content is, I'm going to share the story of that of that email. I don't have space in my email calendar right now. It's going to have to wait till next week. But I'm going to be sharing the story about getting an email that says I'm waiting on Zoom and my emotional reaction to that and how I was, I
was swearing on your behalf. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
It was.
I shared a story a few weeks ago about how I ran out of underwear in the morning. And like I had to run around and ran downstairs the dryer and upstairs looking around for it. And that made me, and that pushed something back and that threw something else off. But by the time everything was said and done, just because I ran out of clothes, I lost about 40 minutes of productive time in the morning. And figure what's an hour of my time worth productively, at least $100.
Yeah.
So and the moral of the story I shared was, for want of a $14 pack of underwear, I lost $100 of productivity. How often does this happen in our lives that we don't do the little thing and it costs us the big thing?
Yeah.
But I share these stories very organically. Like that happened, I think, that day or the day before, and because that's how you talk to your community. That's how you talk to your friends, the people you're trying to support. If they're your audience, if they're your target market, then you plan 6 months in advance and you build a strategy and you want to make sure to touch on the pain points and hit on the problems they have and provide solutions so that they're going to engage in a transaction. And I occasionally remember to do that, but mostly I just kind of talk to my 1,250 closest friends by email. And that's why they stay, I'm pretty sure, because I'm just this guy talking about some stuff who knows a few things and shares some cool things with them.
Well, and I'll tell you, I created just out of desperation for my own. So I have OCD. So what I do is when I have a problem, I dive deep, 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 obsessively deep, solve it, and then I create a course on it. And I usually give it away as a way of saying thank you. And recently, I created a course on inbox zero because I was like, my inbox is overwhelming. And the first thing I teach people is unsubscribe. It's like just
Hmm.
there's nothing on the planet that I can't find online somewhere else. You're one of the few newsletters, and I don't call it that judgmentally, but you're one of the
Mhm.
few. I know it's a bulk email, but I still keep it in my inbox and I read it because I know for a fact that you're adding some value to the people. Um, as you said, we're 1,250 of your closest friends.
Mhm.
I get really annoyed when somebody starts to brag about their list and they treat their list with anything but respect. You know, it's not a list. Those are human beings who've given you permission to send them email. It's not, I have a friend who he considers his list. He says, "Oh, I have a great relationship with my list. I spam them until they buy shit, and then I find something else to sell them." And I'm like, wow, you and I are not at all the same.
Yeah.
He talked himself out of helping me promote an event I was doing because I was like, I will not sully my name having someone else out there spamming on my behalf who calls it spamming and still does it.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, it's fun. I was at an event this past week, and um, one of the experts there in the JV space, was talking about the importance of having like the phone number of your partners. You can text them because he said, I send emails, I don't read them. Which I don't think is about just. I think he does respect his audience, but just the way he thinks about email, he's like, email's a marketing tool, not a communication tool, which also says a bit about what email's becoming as a communication tool. But that's a whole different thing. But I think the fact that I'm still getting 25 to 30% open rates,
Yeah.
in a world where there's a lot of people out there who say we send emails, we don't read them.
Yeah.
That's that tells me that I'm think I'm doing something right. But again, it gets back to part of the reason for the EMC is, I skidded into entrepreneurship very much backwards, sideways, and upside down. So I learned a lot of the wrong things first, and then started learning the right things better. But some of it was just kind of out of a surly arrogance of like, I don't want to write mean things, so I'm just going to write what I want to write, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I don't want to follow the system, so I'm just going to kind of like write stuff and see what happens. And sure enough, it seems to work.
Yeah.
So,
A-
and it's also, tie back to, since we're talking about networking, it's a networking tool because, as I said, you can't. There was a study that was quoted me recently. I believe I've heard it confirmed that you can only really know 150 people.
Yep. That's
Yep.
Robin Dunbar, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, and then you have a wider audience, like people you know of, but you really
Yeah.
know 150. So I don't know 1,250 people. So when I meet someone, I can't. I mean, I could try to create systems that have follow-ups and reminders and whatnot, but there's no way I can remember and engage with all the people I meet. So I use my email list as a networking tool, which is why I don't like using it to sell and to pitch, and why if I'm going to promote a launch, I'm going to open it by saying, hey guys, I'm going to launch something for you, so you can opt out here if you don't want that. If you're here for the networking and you don't want that program, that's cool. Opt out right here. You can do that. Because this is the tool that I use, my private social media platform. So when I meet somebody and I want to stay engaged with them, but I'm not sure what for, because there's so many people I meet, I'm like, you're cool. We should something. I don't know
Yeah.
what, but you're cool. I've reached the point now where at this point, my standard for who gets a one-to-one meeting with me is very high. Because I just don't have time.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to build this program. And of course, the problem with the standard being high is when I said, okay, I've got this program and I'm going to lean into it and I'm going to like clear my calendar and work on it. What can I cancel? Crap, nothing. Because everything's above this very high standard of really great people I want to talk to. I don't just want to put them off. So yeah, I still can't clear my calendar. But yeah, so I'm now super selective. So when I get introductions to a lot of people, I send them to my open virtual coffee.
Yeah.
I send them to my connection bonanza. I send them to my networking networking gathering, I invite them to join the entrepreneur resource group, which is our resource community, which is the free side of the entrepreneur mentor community.
Yeah.
So I try to find places to put people into communities and spaces. And the Facebook group is one of them. Some of those group events are one of them. The email list is one of them. There are all these different ways to stay connected and engaged and support. And in some cases, if you reply to one of my emails, they come to me. So if I send out this email to 1,250 people and somebody hits reply and says, "Oh, I'm glad you sent me this. I actually wanted to ask you about, can you promote this thing or are you interested in coming to whatever?" I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm so glad you told me about that. Absolutely. Let's do it." So it is a form of a conversation with 1,250 of my closest friends.
And I will attest as one of 1,250. I've done that, and you do respond.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things, so the point of this show, I want to help people who are really good at networking get better. Would you mind if we went on a tangent and talked about virtual coffee? Because I inherently get the brilliance of it, but it never once occurred to me to systemize it. And when you did it, I went, son of a, like, how many hours of Jeff's life has he wasted? And you gave me something, and I went, oh my God. I've spent a lot of my life connecting one person to another person. I connect humans. And you were like, Jeff, why aren't you connecting communities? And I went, oh crap. I both love and hate you at this moment, and nothing against you. It's just, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? So tell me about virtual coffee.
Yep.
And the one thing I hear all the time from non-networkers is say, well, why would I waste my time coming to meet all these other people? I want to hear your thoughts on the virtual coffee, because honestly, if somebody out there is a networker, I guarantee they're trying to figure out, how do I do this better?
Yep.
How do I help more people? And this was honestly the biggest innovation I've seen systemized in networking. So I'll be quiet and let you share.
Yes. So the way this started was that I was getting bogged down and filled up in my calendar, and I reached out. And so I have a group called the Guy Knows a Guy group, which is a Facebook group exclusive to people who I've met, and I kind of use it as my personal mastermind and a place to share ideas, because there are people who have in common that they think I'm cool enough to join a group with my name on it. And so I shared, hey, I've got this challenge. What do you guys, does anyone have an idea? And my friend David Haberfeld, who is a real estate investor in Connecticut, he said that what he'll often do is stack similar meetings together. So if he's meeting with a few contractors, he'll meet with them all at 4:00 on Thursday and have them all meet in the same place, because it may be similar conversations. They might want to know each other. And I'm like, that sounds cool, but that sounds like a lot of work to stack people together. So I'm like, well, people are people. So maybe I should just stack everyone together. So I came up with this idea of an open virtual coffee. And I created a link, guyknowsaguy.com/openvc, and made it 10 a.m. Eastern time Friday morning, which was not well thought out, because I meet with people across the country, and in West Coast that's 7 a.m. But now it's kind of where it is, and so anyone on the West Coast who wants to join us just can get up a little early, I guess. But
they're all early risers out on the coast.
Yeah, it's very sunny out there, right? California.
They're doing yoga, and they're up anyway. So
yeah, when I was out there last week, I was up early, but that's because there was a conference anyway. So at first I was using it for when I got to choose someone. I'm like, I don't know what this meeting's for. Come to my open virtual coffee, but I thought it was a less than. Yep. So I'm like, well, you haven't earned a 1-to-1, so I'll give you this other thing. And then I shared it out to my list. I shared it with 1,250 of my closest friends. I might have been 950 at the time. And I made a blog post. And I said, here's this thing I'm doing. You might find it useful. And that's how I met Janine, which is how I met you. Yeah. And Janine Bolin, she took it and ran with it. And she came back to me and told me these results she was getting. And I'm sure I can share this because she shared it on my podcast.
Yeah.
How she'd made money from it and saved all this time. And I'm like, whoa, that's way better than I'm doing. I need you to come on my show and tell me what you did with my idea. So she came on the Power Lunch Live show, and she shared, how she was using it. And the key takeaway was it wasn't less than, it was standard. Mm-hmm. So getting a 1-to-1 was special, where so you getting to 1-to-1 was a special, certain people got that. Most people got the open virtual coffee. And I'm like, default is open virtual coffee. And if there's a good reason we're meeting one-to-one, that made a lot more sense. I started routing people that way. But in terms of the benefit of if you're invited to an open virtual coffee, because more and more people are copying this idea, which is kind of cool to come up with an innovation like that. The value is you don't just get to meet with the one person you're meeting with, you get to meet with the other people they're meeting with. So you get these serendipitous connections right there in the room. And in fact, this past Friday, because I just came back from a conference, I got this new idea, I got all this stuff I want to do. And I'm like, can't cancel my open virtual coffee because I don't necessarily have a good way to tell people not to come. So I opened the room and there were two people there who didn't know each other who wanted to meet. And so after about 20 minutes, I'm talking to them a bit about this and that. They're talking to each other. And I'm like, you guys keep talking. I'm going to work on this thing. I'm half paying attention, but I'm working on this while you guys talk. Oh, cool. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. So they're connecting with each other, doing their thing. And I'm doing, I'm was actually able to, now normally this doesn't happen. I just happened to have gotten off a plane the day before with a brand new business concept to work on. But the cool thing is the open virtual coffee creates its own energy. So it's not just I meet with someone and say, hey, you need to meet with these people and these people and these people. It really is I meet with someone and now, I meet with someone and then I'm able to make those direct connections right there in the room sometimes.
And leave it to Janine to systemize it. And I'll link to that episode because I think everybody watching this, you and I are not the guys to go into the minutia, whereas Janine is, she was built to build systems. I absolutely love that about her.
Yep. But actually, I'll say the system of open virtual coffee is I created a Zoom link and a landing page. That's it.
Yeah.
Like I don't have time for making systems. So it's a Zoom link and a landing page. And then I use pretty links, which is why it's not, Zoom / blah, 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 blah. It's guywhoknowsguy.com/openvc. Pretty links. If you have WordPress, is a great free tool. You can make your website / whatever lead to wherever you want.
Ooh.
So many of the links I give out are guywhoknowsguy.com/EMC or /openvc or whatever.
I'm a sucker. I do it the old school way of creating a landing page. Your way sounds so much better.
Well, I mean, you can still make landing page. If you need a landing page, you can. Yeah. And that's what I did, because I did want to explain when I send someone the open virtual coffee. And actually now I have /meet, because I created the open virtual coffee, and then I created a connection bonanza. Because some people, they want to connect to my network. And I'm cool with that because people pay me to be introduced to people I meet. So the connection bonanzas, they take a few minutes, tell me what they're doing, who they're looking to meet, and I connect them to a few people I know, 0 to 3 of them, and then on to the next one. So I get to make a bunch of connections. I get to meet as many as 9 people in 1 hour versus what I can normally do, which is 2 people in 1 hour. And then I also have a monthly networking gathering, which is a virtual networking event. But they're all different ways to leverage my time so I can spend less time with and serve more people. And ultimately, it's not just saving my time. I can just stop meeting with people. That would save my time.
Yeah.
But I want to keep serving people. I don't want to be like, I used to be a networker who helped people, but then I got too big for that. I don't.
Yeah, I'm far too important.
Far too important to make the introductions you need.
And what I love, Michael, if I may say so, is that good networkers, they do it because they feel like it's not because they're looking to get paid for it. I mean, I had somebody the other day, he said, Jeff, I'm not a communist. I like to make money. But he said, I connect people because I'm good at it. And I feel like it's my calling. It's my gift. And what I love, and honestly, I was trying to solve all the wrong problems. I was looking at how do I automate, how do I streamline, how do I systemize? And the aha moment, it was nothing to do with systems and processes, but the question that brought me to our conversations and the mindset I brought was, how do I have more impact with my networking? And it's funny because I've learned how to network one-to-one, and in the BNI language, there's like a catchy little acronym. I think they just call it one-to-one, but everybody is about that one-to-one. And it's like coaching. You know, a lot of people have this, oh, group coaching masterminds are terrible. But the reality is the more people I bring together who are like-minded, it's not that, you know, there's you throw one connection in the middle of the room and we all fight to figure out who leaves with that connection. The beautiful thing about networking is when you bring more communities together, there's connections that you or I would never even get to, let alone think about doing.
Yeah. Well, and part of the reason why the one-to-one is so crucial, BNI, is that you are trying to create a small number of deeper relationships so you can make low-level introductions.
Yeah.
So I have what I call the ninja networking rubric, where level 1 is you're trying to find your customer in the room. Level 2 is you're trying to get introduced to your customer by the guy in the room. And level 3 is you're trying to get introduced to your partners who will connect you to customers. And so BNI works at level 2. And that's why they have their referral confidence curve. Because if you're going to refer someone for a sales pitch, you better trust them a whole lot.
Yeah.
If you're going to refer someone to, promote their program, that's much less of a direct endorsement. Like if I'm saying, Jeff, you should give Bob money for a service he's going to give you. Well, I'm accountable for how he's going to present it. I'm accountable for how he's going to deliver it. I'm accountable for the results he's going to get. Where if I say, yeah, Jeff, you and Bob should talk and see how you can collaborate.
Yeah.
Unless he's a jerk on the call, everything after that's between the two of you. I didn't say you should work together. I said you should talk to each other. Way easier connection to make. So BNI has to build this level of connection so you can actually make referrals for business to get done.
Yeah.
And that's why in BNI, it can take a year or longer before you start seeing results from it. And that's also why in BNI, people quibble about, I think it's $550 a year now, which is funny because I spent $500 on a course that I wasn't even sure I was going to need, but I thought it might be something worth knowing. So a whole different mindset I've got at this point in my business. But people quibble over it because it takes so long to get results and it's so indirect. And BNI was an amazing innovation when it started in the 80s and the 90s because it was way better than level 1 networking of people just going trying to pitch each other in the room. But now there's this next level when we're getting to joint ventures and we're talking about partnerships and audience sharing and building each other's brands to each other's communities and building, like the EMC, building a community of professionals and giving people platforms and stages. It's just a whole nother level way above what BNI does. If what you're doing right now is cold calling people out of the phone book, BNI is way better. But there's that's a place to start. That's where I started networking.
Yep.
But there's levels above that.
Yeah.
That are even more powerful.
And I think what I love, and I see this sincerely watching you and all the good networkers I know and the greats, they focus on serving first. And, I love, BNI's intention that givers gain. But I think sometimes people get confused and they're like, well, what's in it for me? And then unfortunately that leads to the, I'm going to haggle over the $500 or whatever it is. And it's like, if more people showed up with the giver's gain mindset, BNI would literally put some of the big marketing companies on this planet out of business.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's not always baked all the way into the communities of BNI. I mean, some BNIs are phenomenal and they completely get it. And they're even networking at a higher level. But others, I've heard stories about people going to a BNI and everyone's pitching them. And, it's like fresh meat. They're trying to sell the visitors. I heard one story. I don't think it's BNI's fault because I think the guy who caused the problem was a visitor. But he went to a BNI group and this guy was trying to pitch him like insurance or something. And he went to another BNI group and the same guy was there. And he's like, hey, you didn't return my call. And he's like, no, I did not.
Yes.
That's not an accident. And this guy showed up at like 4 or 5 different meetings.
Yeah.
I actually went to. But that's obviously a visitor if he's going to 5 different meetings.
Yep. I call those the BNI mooches. And I actually know people who figured out, I can go to 2 meetings for free. If there's 10 chapters in my community, that's 20 times I can pitch my stuff. And it's like, you know what? don't be that referral mooch. Just pay the membership, because I do think BNI is a great place to start. Pay the membership, build the relationships, move forward. Now, I know we're going to run out of time, and I'm going to assume you're back to back, so I want to be mindful of it. Where can people go to learn more about EMC, or just to follow you in general, and to be on that list of 1,250 friends?
Yep. So the best place to go is guywhoknowsaguy.com. And if they go to that website at the top, you can put in your email address and I will send you the PDF version of my book. And if you don't like reading PDFs of books, because I don't like reading PDFs of books, you can reply to that email and say, please send me the MP3, and I'll send you the MP3 of my book read to you by the author, who happens to be one of my favorite book readers, myself.
You do have that voice. You'd be a fun author to listen to, I think. So
I hope so. And if you want to find out, you can get the audiobook and listen to it. So you can go there. And I do also actually do a daily motivational, we call Morning Motivations, a podcast. You can search for Morning Motivation on iTunes or wherever you find podcasts. And because I couldn't find a daily short motivational message. Everything was interviews and stories. I'm like, I want like 3 minutes of get out of bed and crush it. So I recorded it because I couldn't find anyone else doing it. And I've been doing it. I just put out episode 700.
Wow.
I mean, it sounds impressive, but it's just 2 years. It's a daily podcast.
Well,
if you want to hit high numbers, just do it daily.
That's what I love about entrepreneurs. It's like, ooh, I'm going to try this. And so, Michael, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know your time is precious, but this was hugely entertaining, and I love talking about networking. So thank you for being on the show. And for anybody listening or watching this, Michael is that guy. He is that authentic. You get exactly what you're seeing here. I strongly encourage you to reach out to him through his website and get on that mailing list.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Michael. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our show. We hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we invite you to either click the link below or scan the QR code to register and listen to other episodes of our podcast. Or if you think your business or you would be a great guest to be on our show, we're always looking for experts in one of the 9 elements of holistic wellness. We'd love to have you. You can either click the link below or you can scan the QR code and complete our speaker intake form. Thank you, and to your wellness.